story. Federal authorities have made over 30 arrests in what they're calling a wide-sweeping criminal enterprise, which involves a current NBA head coach's alleged gambling connection to the mafia.
As you now know, individuals such as Chauncey Billups, Damon Jones, and Terry Rozier were taken into custody today, former current NBA players and coaches. What you don't know is that this is an illegal gambling operation and sports rigging operation that spanned the course of years. The FBI led a coordinated takedown across 11 states to arrest over 30 individuals today responsible for this case, which is very much ongoing. Not only did we crack into the fraud that these perpetrators committed on the grand stage of the NBA, but we also entered and executed a system of justice against La Casa Nostra to include the Bonanno, Gambino, Genovese, and Lucchese crime families.
So 2 indictments were unsealed on Thursday, and this morning we're focusing on the one charging Portland Trail Blazers head coach Chauncey Billups with allegedly participating in a conspiracy to fix high-stakes card games backed by the mafia that allegedly cheated unsuspecting gamblers out of at least $7 million. The U.S. Department of Justice released photos showing the technology that was used to rig these poker games, which included card reading contacts, X-ray poker tables, and rigged shuffling machines, all to allegedly benefit the mafia. Now, just days into a new season, the NBA released this statement on the allegations, announcing that Billups will be placed on leave after his arrest, while also stating that they will continue to cooperate with the relevant authorities, saying we take these allegations with the utmost seriousness and the integrity of our game remains our top priority. Now, let's talk about this with someone with expert knowledge in this topic. He's a former Gambino crime family associate, Lou Ferrante. Lou, good morning to you. Thank you for coming on the program.
Good morning, Julie.
So let's just start with your reaction to this news, because a lot of America was stunned at what came out yesterday. Were you?
Not at all. It's not surprising. The mob, since my time, I went away in the 1990s and I came home in the early 2000s, and since then the mob has sort of contracted. They've lost a lot of the unions that they controlled. They've lost a lot of the construction industry. They used to pour all the concrete. Not a yard of concrete was poured in Manhattan on any job more than $2 million, which is most jobs, without the mob's backing. They lost the garment industry for the most part. A lot of the trucking was controlled by them. So what do they have left? They've always had loan sharking, loaning people money, and gambling, keeping book. So those are the 2 mainstays the mob has had for over the last 100 years, and it's not surprising that they've gone back to that. Also, too, the mob has always had big card games. There was a Lucchese capo named Bruno Fasciola who was whacked, I think back either in the late 80s or early 90s. He was killed, found in a car, dead, with a parakeet in his mouth. But he held big high-stakes card games in his social club in Brooklyn. And when Little Al Diaco, a Lucchese acting boss at the time, went sour, he said that the head of Starbucks, Howard Schultz, used to play there. When a spokesperson for Howard Schultz was asked, that spokesperson didn't deny or confirm the allegation. So I'm not saying Howard Schultz did or didn't play there. I'm just saying that Little Al Diaco accused him of playing there and said he used to sit next to him during card games. It was also in Little Al Diaco's memoir. I've written a history of the American Mafia called the Borgata Trilogy, and I go heavily into it in the 3rd volume. So yes, the mob has always been holding high-stakes card games. They've also infiltrated basketball in the past. Jimmy Burke, who the movie Goodfellas, with the star actor Robert De Niro playing Jimmy Conway, that was based on the life of Jimmy Burke, the man who hit the Lufthansa heist at a JFK airport. Jimmy Burke, they couldn't get him on the heist, the FBI. What did they get him on? They got him on fixing college basketball games, and they gave him 20 years for that. So that was sort of the way they ended up taking him down, with fixing college basketball games. So this has been something the mob has always been doing, and the reason why they're shifting this way now is because they know that murder indictments lead to life sentences. So they've scaled back on the violence, they've scaled back on the murders, and they're focusing more on things like loan sharking and gambling, where it's a slap on the wrist for them. 5 years, 10 years, that's nothing compared to 30, 40 years or a life sentence. So they'd much rather be in this racket than they would in any of the others right now.
Lou, this is fascinating hearing you talk. I want to hear more. First, I've got a clip I want to play for you now from FBI Director Kash Patel at that presser yesterday talking about just how much money was stolen.
And the fraud is mind-boggling. It's not hundreds of dollars. It's not thousands of dollars. It's not tens of thousands of dollars. It's not even millions of dollars. We're talking about tens of millions of dollars in fraud and theft and robbery across a multi-year investigation.
Okay, so let's look at some more now together, Lou. So these are the allegations that have been levied against Chauncey Billups and the allegations that he's got ties to the mafia. They're saying that he was one of the NBA figures who was enlisted here to sit at the table for these poker games to make them feel a little more legitimate, perhaps maybe make people feel a little more comfortable, saying that these defendants would use a shuffling machine to count the cards, try to predict who had the best hand. The information was then transmitted to somebody sitting at the table who would use signals to communicate it with other people in on this scheme. The FBI says they also say they used decoy cell phones and marked cars that could only be seen with special glasses. This stuff sounds just genius, just criminally genius. And I think what's troubling and stunning to a lot of people, myself included, you know, when you think of NBA players, these are rich people who, why would they need to steal any money if they did? Would you help us understand that, Lou?
Sure. Yeah, what happens is, so the mob, it's predatory. I was part of it one day, long ago. You're always looking, you're a predator. You're out there constantly looking for the next racket, the next scam, the next scheme. And anybody who falls into our world becomes prey. So you might have somebody who owns, he's a CEO. Maybe he owns a company or a corporation, or maybe he's an athlete. Once he falls into our world, you know, our talents come out. We want to dig into them, and we want to, you know, use them any way we can to make money. So how do people fall into our world? Usually through vices. I'm not speaking specifically with regard to him, but in general, people might have a drug habit. They might have a gambling habit. They might have a spendthrift wife they can't keep up with. They may be spenders. They spend over their head. They may be back in taxes. People have problems. That's human nature. I mean, you know, we're all human. It's human frailties that we all have to contend with every day, and these people have to contend with them as well. And once they make that sort of, they cross that line and come into our world, our chief goal is to use this person to the fullest extent, any which way we can. And this goes way back into the days of Frank Sinatra fronting for the mob when they wanted to open up casinos in Havana, Cuba. You know, they had Frank Sinatra, they had booked him in certain places on his way up, so they were able to use him as sort of a front man. Murder Incorporated, Albert Anastasia at one point approached Joe DiMaggio and wanted Joe DiMaggio to be the face of a resort casino. And Joe DiMaggio got spooked and he ran. He said, you know, I don't want anything to do with these guys. And he ended up being Mr. Coffee, the face of Mr. Coffee, which was a legitimate enterprise. Right. But the mob is always trying to get somebody, you know, hook up with somebody, and it gives them credibility. As far as the technology is concerned, that's not surprising either. Don't imagine that somebody, you know, Frankie Nine Fingers or Joey Nose is doing this stuff. They're going to have geeky guys. Yeah, I mean, you know, I would call a guy.
They're not going to look like a wise guy, you're saying. Yeah. They're not going to look like wise guys. Yeah. No, I get it. Lou Ferrante, you are a fascinating guy. I can't wait to read your book. This story isn't going away. Would love to have you back another time soon to tell us more.